Hello everyone, my name is Camden. I'm here for the second speech of this public speaking semester this summer, the informative speech. And today I'm going to be talking to you about Title V of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And to get started, I'm going to ask you one question. Have you ever felt discriminated against? Any instance in your life where you felt that you've been mistreated or treated wrong, dealing with your race, your religion, your sex, your age, your nation of origin, any of these things, has there ever been an instance in your life where you felt that you have been mistreated? And I think that most of us would say yes, there has been an instance in our lives where this has happened. And thinking about that instance, how did that make you feel? I'm sure not great. Being mistreated is never fun. So that's where the Title V of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 comes in. Dealing with sex discrimination. It was put in place to stop or make it unlawful to treat someone wrong based on their sex, their gender, male or female, or other sex. And this usually occurs in the workplace. Most cases of sex discrimination that we see are dealt with in the workplace, or it happens in the workplace. And there are 6 main ways that this occurs, and that is job qualification bias, hiring and firing, labor organizations, sexual harassment, and pay. Though there are others, these are the 6 main ways that sexual discrimination occurs in the cases that have come up. The people that this happens to, like I said, is mainly women. In the cases that are seen, women are being sexually discriminated. Though it is not singular to the women, males also get discriminated against. It's just most cases women are seen to be, more targeted for sexual discrimination. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what Title V is. Title V makes it illegal, no discrimination of any kind against someone's sex. Choosing the male bus driver over the female bus driver for a long distance trip just because he's a male is unlawful. You can't do that. There has to be some other type of reason or qualification that made you pick the male over the female. So in cases, it could be widespread on any type of issue with dealing with that kind of stuff. It is unlawful to be treated wrong because of your sex. Also, you can't be treated wrong for your race, your religion, your nation of origin, any of those types of things. It is illegal to be treated wrong. So that's why Title V was created. It was put in place to protect people from being discriminated against. So some examples of sexual discrimination, like I talked about, were job qualification bias. So going a little bit deeper on that, going back to the example of the bus driver, you can't discriminate or pick someone based on their sex. There has to be a different qualification that makes that person better than the other, person, sex-wise, male or female. There has to be a qualification lawfully that you can say, this is why I picked the male over the female or the female over the male, not because you're a female or you're a male. That's what Title V protects. And this is why, again, it is seen mostly in the workplace. It's not singular to the workplace, but most cases are seen in the workplace because of the issues that happen with work. So the same thing with hiring and firing. You can't fire or hire someone based on their sex. It's pretty straightforward, though it happens. And so that's what Title V protects from, is making sure that employers or employees are not discriminated against because of their sex. So going a little bit deeper with Title V, in sex discrimination, going into reporting it. So when there is a sexual discrimination case that pops up, or a situation that pops up, you go to the EEOC, which is the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, and you start a case with the EEOC, or you file a claim, and this, there's 180 days for this claim to be put into the system after this situation had happened. So let's say that you're at work and you are sexually harassed by an employee or your employer. You have, in most cases, 180 days to file that claim or make that situation known to the EEOC for them to investigate and come forth with figuring out what happened and seeing if that is going to go to trial. In filing the claim, there are 3 different ways that you can do that. You can do it by the telephone, you can do it by mail, or you can go into an EEOC office, the nearest office, to the location that the situation happened. In each of these ways, there are different qualifications or different things that you have to give to do it, but most of the time it's all general of the parties that are involved in the case, and where it happened and when it happened, and general information, but sometimes there are different things that you have to talk about. And time frame in the location of the incident can make it longer or shorter, figuring out what actually happened, or the investigation that the EEOC does. So the case is made or not. If the case is made, the burden of proof is the hardest part about these types of cases. And this goes on the plaintiff. The plaintiff has to have specific evidence that shows that they were discriminated against. And, think about it. It's kind of hard unless you have hard evidence of something on tape or, something in writing that you were actually discriminated against. So this is why in most cases the plaintiff doesn't win, which stinks, but it is the way that it is. If it wasn't that way, it'd be he said, she said, and you'd go in circles forever. So the burden of proof is on the plaintiff, and if the plaintiff does show proof that this actually happened, they are entitled to compensatory and punitive damages, and this is reimbursement for the emotional and physical damage if that occurred, and they're reimbursed with that, and for time and money that they spent to do this case. The company or the employee has to deal with that. It is against the law, so they deal with the consequences or the reparations of what happened. And this can be out of pocket. This can be sex-based wage discrimination. Any of these things, most of the time, fall under the Equal Pay Act, which this goes with, liquidated damages, and so all of these things, if the plaintiff can show burden of proof, happen in cases, and it just happens to be whether or not your situation goes with having punitive damages or compensatory damages or liquidated damages for your singular case. So I'm going to go into 2 cases that I researched. One was OnCall versus Sundower Offshore Service Inc. And this happened, the case started in December 3rd of 1997. This dealt with Joseph OnCall, who said that he was sexually harassed by the Sundower Offshore Services. And it went to trial, and Title V made it infracted, and it was infracted. So OnCall won the case. The judges said, "Hey, Title V is infracted. You guys need to pay damages to him." So that happened. And then Johnson versus Transportation Agency. This was November 12th of 1986, and just like the bus incident I said at the beginning. a woman got a promotion over a man. And it was Diane Joyce and Paul Johnson. Paul felt that he was being discriminated for his sex, the choice of the promotion, because he was a male. This case, the courts ruled that it wasn't an infraction. The transportation agency had proof that they weren't picking her based on the sex, but yet she received the promotion because of other qualifications. So that's just a little bit about Title V in sex discrimination. The ways of filing claims, the ways that it occurs, people it happens to. All of these things are covered under the Title V Act, the 1964 Act, the Civil Rights Act, dealing with sex discrimination. And, learning a little bit about this, it was tough because, the cases that I read through and the things that I saw, it's sad because when these things actually do happen, like I said, it's the burden of proof, and it's hard to prove that to the courts that, hey, I was discriminated against because I'm a male, or I was discriminated against because of my age. It's hard to prove that happened unless there is clear evidence. So most of the time, it goes unseen, and I think that that's why sex discrimination isn't seen a lot, because no one can prove that it happened. It's he said, she said, and that also explains why people don't say things a lot, and it just goes on, and it ends up being a lot worse than just being sexually discriminated against. So I hope that you guys enjoyed hearing a little bit about Title V, and I appreciate it. Thank you.